Really is that little boy on the inside finally got his healing. Grown man had children one day, taught him how to pray. Grown man had children on his own, kissed them and prayed with the lights on. Sometimes I cry. Sometimes I cry, Lord, I cry. Sometimes black men, our tears have created rivers, but don't let our struggles keep us hindered. Stand up, black men. Open up your eyes, erect your head. Struggle today, testify tomorrow. Trust brothers, trust black men. Those days of crying lead to days of strength, days of warring on, days of rising unto your divinity. Little boys grow up to be grown men. Little black boys grow up to be big black men, strong black men, godly black men, God men. They grow up to be God.
Feel my disdain, please feel my pain. This grown man must reign, I can't be constrained. This flow is arranged, be ingrained in your brain. Fuck all your fame, cause them groups is so strange. We clothe with the robes of our bloody ancestors, manifested to give us true science lessons. We've been repressed by material possessions and suggestions that we go into rebellion against our own melanin. I'm telling them that your commodity is in your black odyssey. It's odd to me that we at odds with we. Sometimes I cry, then sometimes I fly. After I, P-R-A-Y, and pour out libations. Asking the creator to fix his creation. Facing heartache, cause my people racing to a dark place. But wait, we displace that self-hate with the innate nature in our DNA to be gods and goddesses. The beast ain't stopping this.
See, black men, our first love has to be our excellence. We are the life-giving force. So with truth as our guide, we fight for character. We are the lovers of all of our souls. Black gold with diamond souls.
14. We are live now. What's up, Jevona?
Hi, Randy Graham.
What's up, Trayce Brooks?
Hello.
Good, we are back. Episode 2, Wealthy Thoughts. I got Jevona Fudge in the house with us. Just to give you a little background about Jevona Fudge, she is a business owner in Detroit. I'm going to let her explain what she does. And also, me and Jevona graduated high school together. So, Jevona, tell us about your business.
So, I own Detroit Sip, which is a coffee shop on 6 Mile. Between Livernois and Wyoming.
Okay. Anything else?
It's a wonderful spot too. I mean,
well, thank you.
It's I've been thinking about it ever since I've been there. Every time I go down McNichols, I always look over there to see if you're open. And usually I'm always running, not able to stop. But it's a cool neighborhood hangout. It's nice to have it.
Well, thank you. That was actually what it was intended to do. Sit right there in the neighborhood by the college to give them a place to go outside of the gated communities that they live in.
Okay, Jevona. So what gave you the idea to start Detroit Sip?
Well, I fell in love with the coffee shop while I was away because we didn't have them at home in Detroit. So it was a new thing, and I thought it was pretty cool. And I wanted to away at Michigan State. I'm sorry, for school.
Okay. Okay. I was just trying to make sure you weren't talking about away at the prison or something. I didn't know what you
We're not doing time. I did time, but not that kind of time. It was probably equally as hard. But no, so being at Michigan State and then studying for the bar exam, I used to study in the coffee shop. And I like the coffee shop because it's different than the library. I'm not productive in the library because the silence is too loud. So I like the quiet noise of the coffee shop where you're close enough to people, but you're still far enough away to have your privacy. And that being my first experience, I'm like, man, we need some of those back home. So that is why It's located right by the colleges because the intention was to create that space when you don't want to be in the library.
All right, cool. So why don't you discuss some of the challenges of being an entrepreneur?
Oh, it's hard. But because it's something I want to do, it's a different type of hard than working for somebody else.
Okay.
Because I can change directions. I can be as flexible or inflexible as I choose to be. So that and knowing how to run a business when you don't have any formal training in it is a very difficult thing to do. And in the food industry, you also have a whole nother layer of licensing and permits and things that you have to do to stay in compliance. Otherwise, there are repercussions. So learning how to do that and navigate the system without even knowing what you don't know. Like I didn't know certain things that I was supposed to do, and that resulted in some fines at times that I had to pay.
Okay.
Blood, sweat, tears, all of it. Long nights. I mean, you don't working a 9 to 5 is different than working for yourself because there is no such thing as a time clock. There is no set hours.
Mhm.
You just when it's your dream, you just do whatever it takes. You're not keeping track of necessarily the financial costs, the sacrifices for your sleep, your family, shoes and purses. I don't get to buy that as much as I used to. Because that's my thing. But it's a sacrifice, but I don't regret it because it's something that I enjoy. Like I love the coffee shop. I love what it does. I'm gonna fully disclose here on your podcast. I don't drink coffee. Not one drop of it. I love the smell of it, but more importantly, I love what it does. Coffee and music to me are kind of like the same thing because it can bring people together no matter what. It crosses every single boundary that we can construct as human beings to keep us apart. Coffee, just like music, just breaks those barriers down all the time. So that's what I love about it. It's a community creator.
Cool. What's what's been you kind of got to my next question was some of the advantages of being a business owner, entrepreneur.
Watching
not
dreams. No, it's not. It's water. It's hot water, though. It is hot water. But watching dreams come true and not just mine. Meeting people and like you meet some amazing people. And I've learned you never know who you're talking to. And that's why you need to treat everybody well. People come in there, I have no idea who they are. You have no idea whose life you touch, or what type of experience they will have and how word will travel. So those types of things and how you treat people, to me, it's a privilege also to be able to give back to my very own community and participate in the revitalization, and fight against the worries of gentrification, because it's my community and I am contributing. And I think that the neighborhood has responded to that because of the authenticity.
Cool. I'm sorry about that. I had to go off the screen. I'm having a problem with my eye for whatever reason. So you told us why you picked that spot and everything like that. Tell us about some of the stuff you do at Detroit Step.
We recently had a improv show, which I thought was pretty cool. I didn't even know what improv was. So it was to benefit a children's organization for children in the arts. So I'm gonna be honest, I was having a bad day. I didn't feel like going, but I'd already made the commitment. So I'm sitting there and I'm just watching what they're doing. And before I knew it, I was on the mic and I was doing improv and I was having a good time freestyling. I dropped a few bars, just 6 of them though. Just
Okay,
6.
well, you're gonna drop those 6 bars before the end of the night.
So that was pretty cool. Actually, we have an event coming up the Saturday after Thanksgiving, which is an annual thing that we do inside the coffee shop. It's to put you in the mindset of Easter market, but on a smaller scale. But we put all the coffee shop tables aside and align the walls of the store with vendors. Some of them have home-based businesses, others are more established. But for that day, it's a celebration of small business. And so we do a vendor marketplace every year on that particular day because Black Friday is the big box for the big box stores. So American Express is established Shop Small Saturday. So we do that. We do that a couple times a year actually, but we always do it on Shop Small Saturday. There are times when we have live music shows there, book signings, baby showers, birthday parties, even a wedding reception was inside the coffee shop. So it's more than just a coffee shop. It really is a community gathering space.
Cool. I know the first time I came there, that's what you were having a vendor event. I don't think you was even open yet. Were you even open yet?
No.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. So owning the space provided me, I should say, a little more freedom because I hadn't yet been approved as a coffee shop. But I could open the space. So that's why I started doing that, which was a lesson. One of those bought lessons actually cost me a lot of money for doing that because people post things, right? So one of the vendors posted that they were making cakes. So the health department came in like, you're selling cakes? I'm like, no, I wasn't selling any cakes. So like, no, we got this picture right here, you know. So that was $1,000 lesson. That is again part of the process. I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't make them. They weren't selling them under my business name, you know, just but those are all things that unless you have that insight or the formalized training or a staff like a larger corporation would have, you wouldn't know those things. And that is why I unapologetically try to patronize from the people whose products that I sell, people that are actually operating out of the city limits of Detroit, because I know how hard it is firsthand. And so that's why it's my commitment to utilize that space to support and uplift other entrepreneurs operating in Detroit.
Yeah, I know you had you had a guy that had portraits in there at one point, and I know I bought one from him.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, pretty.
Yeah, I still have portraits there, and he has a whole nother series that he said, you know, he wants to put on display. Actually, an artist just reached out to me about having an art show there for her work. So yeah, it is. It's actually a cool space to display art, and it helps me because I have a whole lot of wall space, so I don't have to worry about trying to fill it in because it serves two purposes. It displays somebody's work, and then it just adds to my decor.
So what made you come up with the name Detroit Sip?
Excuse me. I don't know. I was just thinking, like, what could it be? I wanted the name Detroit to be in the title, and coffee is hot, so you can't gulp it. You got to sip it. It wasn't anything really profound, other than I knew it was going to be a coffee shop, and I wanted people to kind of get it just from the title. Although I didn't realize people would say "sip what." I'm like, coffee. I didn't think of the spirit side of things that people would think that. adult drinks.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
So, are you looking to expand?
No, not at
No,
all.
no.
No, absolutely. There will not be a Detroit Sip 2. I don't want to franchise. I don't want to expand. I just want to do one thing really well. That's it.
Okay, good. Well, I can tell you this is going really well. You guys make a great hot chocolate because I don't drink coffee either. But I come there and get some hot chocolate and get some coffee for my mom when I'm in town.
Yes, you do.
Jevona,
Anything?
I
Oh, go
was
ahead.
listening to you just talk about some of the community events that you host, and I know that the city of Detroit is putting up a Kwanzaa, some type of Kwanzaa statue or memorial, and I think that might be something really cool that maybe you could do. Um, Part of the nights of Kwanzaa, maybe, or the days of Kwanzaa, and each day just kind of promote each of the different themes at Detroit SIP. That would be really cool and something for the community.
You trying to add to my list, Miss Tracy?
Now, just trying to pump you up, put you
I
out.
appreciate it. Yeah, I wasn't aware that they were doing anything.
Yeah, it just came out recently. I want to say like this past weekend. I know that they've been trying to do some different things the city has regarding, just diversity and inclusion. And especially, at the holidays, and the tree lighting, I know, is this weekend. That's a big deal. Lots of Detroiters will be downtown for the tree lighting. They also have a menorah for the Jewish holiday for Hanukkah. So I thought that might be something, just because you're right over there off of Livernois. And I know a lot of those businesses do things connected to the holidays, but I just thought that might be something really cool to do to promote Kwanzaa in the community. So just the thought, just putting it out there.
Yeah, I think there are enough of us actually on 6 Mile. Maybe each business can take a night and take
Mhm.
one of the principles.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
So, what kind of growth have you seen over there since you started? How long have you been in business again?
So I've had this space since 2014, and it did not officially open until 17, just to give you a kind of timeline. And when I lived like less than a mile away,
Mhm.
but realizing I had never even traveled that area of 6 Mile because, and I'm not trying to be offensive, but there's no reason to. If I
Yeah.
want to get to the lodge, I take the Livernois. If I want to get to James Cousins, I would drive, west on Outer Drive. So I never drove down 6 Mile, down that stretch for any reason. And when I went over there, I'm like, oh my God. It was like two different worlds. It really was less than a mile away. And I was really overwhelmed at what I saw. Just abandoned buildings, broken glass. I'm like, I can't do this. I have a job. Like, I have a career. I cannot. I just felt overwhelmed at what I saw. And then I just started going by there because it was mine at that point. So I had to embrace the thought. But just going by there and just literally, I remember praying, like, this is the valley of dry bones. And I just had to make it happen, not knowing, I had no inside information that things would take off in that area like they did. Um, I mean, $1 million investments being made around the coffee shop that had been sitting there kind of operating
Mm-hmm.
on a prayer, literally. And I used to, because I won Motor City Match early on, it did expose me to a lot of media interviews and things. And people would always ask me, why are you here? And I tell the story, about college and wanting to bring the UAD students and the Marygrove students out, because you know when you're by Wayne State, you know you're in a college area as soon as you get down there, because you see them on bikes, you see them carrying backpacks. And to live that close to two universities and never see a person that even looks like a college student, it bothered me. Like, we're neighbors. What are they afraid of? Why aren't they mingling with us? We're all living here together in this community. So I was telling that story time after time, and I'll never forget, I was in an interview and he asked me why did I want to be right there? And I said, I'm not answering that question anymore. He looked, and I said, you don't ask Dan Gilbert why he's doing what he's doing. You don't question his, business decisions. So just watch, you'll see. And from that point on, it was just a sense of determination and pride, because I shouldn't have to justify why I'm investing and building in my own neighborhood. It really shouldn't be a question. It should be a normal thing to do.
Sounds good. Let's talk about hiring challenges.
Oh, I will say this, and I don't know if you're going to beat me up or not, but when we first started, I strayed away from being labeled a Black-owned business.
Okay.
And here's why. I felt like it was being used like with an asterisk.
Okay.
A qualifier. Because with Starbucks or Tim Hortons, or we don't call that any type of business. It just, by its name, it has a reputation, it has a brand, it has that attraction factor for customers. So initially, I didn't want that label. And then I learned to just embrace it, because it does come with a sense of pride. I wasn't straying away from it because I was ashamed, but I just didn't want it to be used as a way of minimizing my business. And that's kind of how I felt it was being utilized at times. But then with that came this, that was a learning lesson for me. I employ the best, or who I think is the best, without any consideration of race. And some of my best employees have been Caucasian. And it just happened to me again this past Friday. Oh, I thought this was a Black-owned coffee shop. It is. But because I had a Caucasian employee, it was presumed that it's not Black-owned. So that opened my mind up to a thought process that I did not know existed. That there was an expectation, if it's a Black-owned business, that all of the employees also have to be Black.
Well, I think that may come from the expectation that white people won't work for Black people. So that may be that bigger society expectation that, if there's a Black business owner, white people might not work for them.
I didn't even know.
Yeah, I've heard that before. So
yeah, I just want the best, though. So for hiring, I'm living proof of this, because I've already confessed I don't drink coffee. But I'm living proof that you can teach a person how to make coffee. But there are some things that you just can't teach. Either somebody has it or they don't. How people are treated when they come in there means everything to me, because they can literally go right down the street to McDonald's, not get out of their car, get a coffee for $1. If somebody takes the time to park in that our new little streetscape, get out of their car and walk in there and patronize Detroit Sip, I want them to be treated better than they expected to be treated, because I appreciate that, because it's intentional, especially when we first started, because there was nothing else over there. So nobody made a mistake and came to Detroit Sip. It was intentional. And I just feel like if you can't buy into that, then you can't work there, because I can teach somebody how to make a latte, but how people are treated, and you have to buy into the mission, because I'm not there. I can't be there. I have to be at work. So I need to be able to feel comfortable that it's still going to be that community space and everybody's going to be treated well, no matter who's behind the counter.
Cool. So that's why when you're there, you serve plates. That's an inside joke.
Yes, I do believe in that. So when I'm there, I will put the cream cheese on your bagel. I thought that that's what you're supposed to do. I was cutting people's oranges, and I'm like, oh, you're not supposed to do that, because I'm a mom. So to me, it just came natural. Nobody wants to sit there if they're trying to study and peel an orange. So I just try to give as much, customer service as possible. I'm not the strongest when it comes to the social media marketing and all the stuff that you really need to do to have your digital footprint to be relevant and to reach people. The business could be much thriving much better if I were doing that. But I think word of mouth and the repeat customers that we have, it just keeps the place growing and going.
Cool. Well, since we do talk about Black business on here, one day I'm gonna have to get your daughter on here, because she is an entrepreneur herself with already at 16 years old, multiple companies.
Yes. In fact, we just literally today just picked her up a whole new little camera set up with her tripod and her lighting, and because she started her photography business, so Cast Tech is playing in the semifinals, so she'll be on the field taking those pictures and jewelry. She'll be selling her jewelry next Saturday. Yeah,
Okay.
very, very, very proud. And I think that is, again, you never know who's watching you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So children do more of what they see you doing versus what they hear you saying to them. So that's probably the proudest thing that I can say. My biggest accomplishment of that coffee shop is watching her learn from that. And I even borrowed money because I didn't have any cash. So I was able to borrow money from her. She actually works at the coffee shop officially on the payroll. Just I think that that's what we have to do. We have to teach our children young,
Mm-hmm.
and teach them how to be business people. We're very talented, but cultivating that and actually making it a business that can last for generations, that has to come with some lessons learned, so that it's not seen as a hobby, because it's not a hobby. It's a real job. It's a second real job.
Like when she was talking about social media, so I have an 18-year-old. She loves social media. She's great at doing TikTok and all that fun stuff. So I can definitely get her to come help you promote Detroit Sip and just, put it out there in the community to get some more foot traffic.
Oh, that would be cool. Y'all can't see me, can you?
Yep.
No, I can see you.
I can't
You can't see
you.
us?
Mm-mm.
Oh yeah, we can see you. So stop looking like that, because you look like you
Okay.
lost. So,
Because I'm trying to pull the camera back up.
Yeah.
okay.
And the only other thing I wanted to add, Jevona mentioned that her shop is, Wayne State is not that far away, but she's actually down the street from University of Detroit. And so, I think that is a really, just again, it's great to have Detroit Sip in the neighborhoods in that proximity to the school, but also just in proximity, to the avenue of, well, what they used to say avenue of fashion. Now it's just the avenue of everything, because everything happening over there now.
Everything. I said that recently. Like, it's not the avenue of fashion. It's where you go and eat.
Yeah, that's just kind of an outdated term, but just to her point, there's a lot, especially in the Northwest, Detroit, a lot of, economic growth and prosperity and redevelopment and reinvestment in the community. So it's just really exciting to see that, because as I was listening to Jevona talk about, how bleak that area of McNichols and 6 Mile used to look for years, and in comparison to what it looks like today. And then also Marygrove is directly, literally almost across the street, cat corner from where you are. It's just really phenomenal. Now you've got, bike path and just the way that the street is set up, that people can walk and stroll, and come into the different businesses. I think it's just really amazing.
Cool. Hey, so your dream was to have college students come in, because I come every time I'm there. It's probably the weekend. I know you open. What days are you open again?
Thursday through Sunday.
Okay, so how many on Thursday and Friday? How many college kids you think come through there?
Zero.
Really? Okay.
If I had to cite a failure, that's what it would be, because they really were the reason that I'm there. But then so many other things took off, from that. But that really was the original mission. So that is something that I would like to work on. But the students have been there, and we've had focus groups. And to be quite honest, I've asked, why don't y'all come outside of those gates? At one point in time, I was told that in orientation, it said, don't leave, that area. Like, this is the safe zone, in the gated community. And so those gates have been a area of contention between the school and the community. I guess the school's position was, we have a duty to protect, and the community is like, protect from what? They don't need protection from us. So that has really been something that was a fight long before I got involved, not knowing that was the message. But I think now that there's more development over there, we may see more college students walking. And willing to come out, there's safety in numbers. And I just got to be honest, we got to do better. You own a business, you got to pick up the trash. People treat places how they look.
I remember growing up, we used to sneak in UAD, go over there in that outdoor basketball court and play basketball all the time. And they used to come and kick us off. So, but I do remember that. So now that you say that, keeping the community out and keeping those guys in. So now that you say that kind of makes sense.
Yeah. So they have tried to do a better job. Let me tell the complete story. They have tried to do a better job of making the community aware that we are welcome there. Like, even though they have the little security booth, you just say, hey, I'm going to the track, and you are able to go in there. But without knowing that, you wouldn't breach that boundary, because a gate tells us you're keeping something in and you're keeping something out. So it wasn't very, the message wasn't clear that we're all together.
Gotcha.
And that's good to know. I wasn't aware of that. So that's very interesting to know about University of Detroit. And I think it just speaks to the fact that there's more conversation that needs to happen within the community, to kind of, tear down some of these barriers and walls that exist to people having a more enriching experience in the communities that they live and work in and go to school.
Yes.
I think that's a good segue into your topic, Trayce, because I think that representation is some of the reason why people feel that way. Like, they got to keep a certain element out of there, and because there is not enough representation. But go ahead, let's talk about your topic.
Yeah, so one of the things that I wanted to talk about, of course, this past weekend was very big at the box office, because Wakanda Forever came out. Several weeks prior to that, Black Adam came out, and with those two films, I felt like it was just really fantastic to see representation of African Americans in leading roles in film and on the screen, and just kind of what that means to us. That conversation has been happening in media for a long time, as far as representation, presence of color on the big screen, as well as on the small screen. I think that I have numbers, but I know that, I went out with my family this past weekend and we went to support the movie, and I thought that it was great that they gave tribute to Chadwick Boseman, who sadly passed away um shortly after they had started filming this movie Wakanda Forever. But it was just great to be able to go and see just so many faces of color, so many Black faces, in very powerful and impactful roles. Angela Bassett, and um, just many others. And there were a lot of scenes, I should say, references and photos and stuff of Chadwick Boseman. But it was just really awesome to see, and I felt like it was especially meaningful as I looked around the theater for young Black children and young Black folks, especially Black boys. And I think that it's needed. I realized, in that moment walking out of theater, they need to be able to see themselves, and have, heroes and something to aspire to. So I thought that was very powerful. I haven't seen Black Adam yet, but I've heard that Dwayne Johnson does a really good job in that role. Both Black Panther and Black Adam, are comic book characters that have been out for a long time, have very big following, dedicated audience. So I just thought that was really cool, and just timely for those stories to come to the screen.
So I know I was reading something about Dwayne Johnson. I know The Rock wanted to play Black Adam, like I think it's been like 12 years now, something like that. He had been trying to, ever since he'd been pretty much in Hollywood, he had been trying to get that role. They had been trying to keep it from him, but he was saying as he was growing up, that was one of his favorite superheroes because he was Black. And he grew up like he's an anti-hero, so he grew up liking it, and he wanted to play him. So finally got a chance to play him, which is a good thing.
Yeah, and it's, and again, just, as you talk about Dwayne Johnson, and there's also, I think, some type of series on it that talks about just kind of his come up and the struggles and different things that he's had on his way to success. So, that also, to see him in that role is just to know it's a culmination of his own just kind of fight and struggle, for that role. And, his story is not the only story. There have been other, actors and actresses that have talked about, role models of folks that they admire and roles that they wanted to play as a lifelong dream. And so to be able to see that come to fruition again, I just think is, just a wonderful opportunity. And again, I think that he did a great job, with it, at least, from the trailers and things that I've seen. He does a really good job with that role.
All right. Well, so with representation being important, right? How do you think that representation, we know for Black kids it's important and everything like that, but how do you think that representation pans out for the broader society as far as how they see Black people?
Well, I think there's a lot of stereotypes that are out there. There, are a lot of myths that are perpetuated, and have been perpetuated, for many years. And so I think that when you see things that are positive and impactful, it helps to tear down those stereotypes and to really cause people to stop and think and realize, you know, we have great potential. We have great potential, and not only that, we're great contributors, and we always have been. And I think that, sadly, one of the things that has happened is, you know, and I don't want to say we have allowed, but I think we have to really make sure that we're fighting the good fight, and that we don't stop fighting to make sure that the truth is told about our contributions and the things that we do, the things that we create, have created, the things that we build and have built. They have, you know, brought us to where we are. I think, you know, the truth of the matter is, where society is, where cities are, you know, technology, all of the things, none of those things would exist without what Black folks have contributed. And I think that it's very important, you know, again, when we talk about what you see, what you read, you know, in the media, it's just important that the truth is told, and that it's an accurate, you know, depiction of who we are.
Jevona, you was about to say something.
Um, I think that is extremely important to bring the human side of things. Carrington was little right when Princess Tiana came out. When Penny Proud and the Proud Family, like, I was very intentional about making sure she saw herself uh,
Mm,
on not just on TV though, like
mm,
just that we're more than what we're shown on TV.
mm-hmm,
I think that is important, and I also think is, if not more important, to show other people who we are, because we know who we are.
mm-hmm,
So I think that we have to take a more active role in what we're portrayed as in the story that's being told. So we're not just pigeonholed, we're more than athletes. That
mm-hmm,
shouldn't be the only time you see us on TV.
mm-hmm,
We're not just defendants, that shouldn't be the only time you see us. Um, but not being on TV, there's still so many other layers of things that we do. Um, Representation, people ask why I chose the career that I did. And the answer is very simple: Claire Huxtable. Like, I wanted to be just like her.
mm,
She seemed to have it all together. And at 7 years old, I decided I was going to be just like her. And I never strayed away from that. And it helped me propel to who I am. So I think that is very important for us to see ourselves in various roles, but also other people, to see that we're not just one way. Everybody's not the same. We don't all like the same things.
mm-hmm,
Most recently, the thing that really just warmed my heart was the trailer when the little girls see Chloe as the Little Mermaid. And so when they watch the trailer and they see her face, and they're like, oh, she looks like me. She has brown skin. And it's touching because they are genuinely happy. But then on the flip side, it's like, why is this so shocking to them? For them to have such a strong emotion at seeing it, it means it's too rare. They
yep,
don't see it enough. That's why they're so surprised.
yep,
But then on the flip side, to see the hatred, that people are really, really upset that the Little Mermaid is now going to be color.
mm-hmm,
A Black woman,
mm-hmm,
it shows that we got a lot of work to do still,
mm-hmm,
because it shouldn't evoke such strong emotions on either side. It should be normal
mm-hmm.
in 2022.
Yeah. I totally relate to that when you talk about Tiana. And I remember, I have 3 daughters. And so when they saw that film, The Princess and the Frog, that literally became like their favorite Disney princess film. And they actually, I think I bought them a Princess and the Frog cookbook. But even now, and my daughters are 18, 20, and 22, they still like to watch that movie. Like when they're together and they're just kind of scrolling through, they will watch that movie. But yeah, I was listening to your comments, and that also, made me think about the fact that, we talk about representation. It's interesting. I feel like white America responds when they want to leverage those things for profit. So, we talk about, images of beauty and representation, on magazine covers, beauty products, and those sorts of things. We talk about representation. There's work to be done across the board. Even, in clothes and clothing sizes, um, tall, curvy. These are things that are all necessities. And it's interesting that sometimes they're taken for granted, but these are things that need to be talked about and they need to be discussed. And it shouldn't be an issue. It shouldn't be a problem. There was a time when, Ebony Fashion Fair was the go-to makeup line for women of color, because there wasn't any really other makeup out there that met our needs, that was, shaded to our skin tones. And Fashion Fair Cosmetics basically, built their success. There was the magazine, of course, Jet Magazine, Ebony Magazine, and Ebony Junior, but a lot of their wealth was built on their cosmetics. And now what has happened is, interestingly, has evolved. And so now you have all these other major cosmetic brands that have come up, and now they do offer more as far as a range of products, and really took a lot of that, market away. But again, when we talk about representation, to Jevona's point, there is just definitely a lot more that continually needs to happen, to evolve, to meet the needs of people of color, of Black folks, and to make sure that we're appropriately represented.
Yeah. So when we talk about representation too, I don't think we right now we're talking about the positive side of it, but there's also a negative side of it that happens in Hollywood, where Hollywood and entertainment in general, where, especially with music, for instance, a Black person can kill a Black person on the track and they get played all over the radio, but as soon as something positive, it don't really get any play. And the other thing about that too is that a Black person can kill a Black person on track, and no one says anything about that being anti-Black. But as soon as a Black person say something about feeling like they might be Hebrew or anything like that, now all of a sudden it's anti-Semitic. So that negative, and then that's another point of negative representation, because then that person is dragged through the media mud and now looked upon as either crazy or anti-Semitic, and it's something that's being used to be hateful towards that person, when really that person might not even be in that may not even feel that way. They just, it's just something that they may not be anti-Semitic, but they're telling their truth as they believe the truth to be.
So when we talk about representation, we talk about pride. I'm going to go back to when we were growing up in Detroit Public School. You couldn't have told us that we weren't as smart as the kids at Cranbrook, Bloomfield, for a couple reasons. But one of them was we didn't even know what they were doing. So we didn't even have a point of reference. Technology has made the world so small that our kids can see that Detroit Public School kids don't even have toilet paper in their bathrooms. But then kids at West Bloomfield, they have like their own pizzeria right in the cafeteria. So for us growing up, the message was, we're no better than anyone, but we're certainly no less than. But because they now have ways to compare and see what they don't have in comparison to what others have, I think that we have to do things a little differently, as a community, to help ourselves, and so that our children, we have more input and control over what they're being taught and what they're seeing in our households and in their communities, because we can't control. I mean, social media is everywhere. We just can't give them tunnel vision anymore and give them the innocence that we had. So we're competing against things that our parents didn't necessarily have to compete with, for us to have that drive, that determination, and the pride, because we didn't know any different.
You know what? I also think too, that generation that was teaching us in school, they were just off of, many of them were teenagers when Black Pride and Black Panthers and stuff like that was going on. And I think they kind of brought that into teaching us, because I remember in elementary school, you know, we would do the national anthem, the United States national anthem, but the Black national anthem was the last thing we did. And you know, normally that's not how it goes. Normally you do something else first, but the national anthem is last, because that's what's supposed to be. But that wasn't how it was at my school. I remember it was United States, it was Star Spangled Banner, and then it was Lift Every Voice and Sing. Lift Every Voice and Sing. So it was very much instilled in, that I can remember, that it was very much instilled to know who you were, know that you strive for excellence, and you know, when we would do like, and I remember Black History Month was not February, it was January and February. It started soon as we got close to Martin Luther King birthday. It was all Black, and it was Black all the way up, and sometimes going all the way past February into March. You know, you know, and somewhere we've lost that. Somewhere, you know, many of us, we move out of, some people move out the neighborhood. Their kids are not being, you know, then the kids are not being put up by Black teachers. And then a lot of times we're not even at home giving them that teaching that, you know, our parents was giving us.
So when we talk about representation, what about responsibility? So here's what I'm asking that. And I'm going to just talk about the rappers, because that was the topic I heard on the radio.
Okay.
Name, the one that was killed at
Offset.
No, it wasn't.
You said who?
Killed at the Chicken and Waffles. PM.
Oh, okay. I can't think of his name right now, but I know you're talking
about. That was killed at Chicken and Waffles. Look here. What was the rapper's name that was killed at the Chicken and Waffles? P something.
PNB Rock.
PNB Rock. Okay.
Yeah.
So there was some critique about, well, what was he doing there in the first place? And then on the other side, it was, but when we don't come back, then you say we sold out. So we have a responsibility of, when you make it, you're supposed to reach back, but then at what cost? How do we make people feel welcomed in succeeding and not being labeled as you think you better than? How do we do that? Because it seems like 6 in one hand, half a dozen in the other. You're not satisfying either group. So how do we do that as a community? Keep encouraging, and I'm just using that as an example. Keep encouraging excellence and success. And then at what point does self-preservation kick in? And you have to change as you elevate, change your surroundings. So how do you balance that?
And I think in that situation, and just correct me, when you say there was conversation about why was he at the Chicken and Waffles? Was it just that people didn't feel that that was a place that he should have been because of his stature, that he should have been somewhere else more frequent?
Because it's in the hood. So why are you there? And then others are saying you should be able to go wherever you want to go. Because if he never went back to the neighborhood, then people would be mad at that. But now he's back in the neighborhood. I mean, granted, you don't have to have a $20,000 chain on if you're going there. He did or he didn't. But
yeah, I think that in that, for me, you know, when I hear about these types of unfortunate incidents, especially surrounding rappers, unfortunately, that particular lifestyle, the career choice, seems to, and I know Randy got lots to say, but
I can see his body language.
I know, but I just think that it's inherent because, you know, you talked about this particular rapper, Takeoff was killed, you know, probably a little bit over a week ago.
Yeah, Takeoff, not Offset.
Takeoff. My concern, it has really to do again with choices that we're making. You know, there's no issue with, you know, you come into the hood and doing things, but I think people have to be mindful, and especially to Randy's point, is you are aspiring, and I think kind of the higher up you go, sometimes that just attracts certain folks. And so you do have to be mindful about the activities that you're engaging in, who you're spending your time with, and sometimes that attracts folks knowingly and unknowingly. So you do have to be careful, especially again as you become, you know, just kind of more popular and your star rises. There are people out there that, I'm sorry, they're looking to take you down. You know, they're looking to do harm. They're looking to hurt you and harm you. And in those situations with those two guys, unfortunately, that's what happened. So I just think that, you know, those are things that you have to be careful about. And it doesn't necessarily, I think, matter where you are. You know, it could have been somewhere else. It just was, unfortunately, you know, happened to be at the Chicken Waffles, and you know, that's where they showed up.
So Kanye West said something in one of his raps. He said, you know, haters, it's always gonna be haters. It's just what it is. So men marry hating bitches and have hater kids. And so the fact of the matter is that's just a true statement there, that it's always gonna be haters. There's always gonna be somebody that don't appreciate your come up. That's regardless to if you got money, that's regardless to social status or whatever. Whether you live in an affluent neighborhood, in that affluent neighborhood, there's tiers in that affluent neighborhood. There's some people that's on a higher stature in that affluent neighborhood, and there's people that's lower than them that's hating on them. And the same thing if you go down to the hood, and you got some people that's in the hood that's making it and getting themselves together, and there's some people that's hating on them. That's gonna be there. The other thing with rap that I think people don't really remember is that you know, the rap is monitored very heavily by FBI, by police, and different things like that. And so when these rappers are talking about ops and informants and stuff like that, that's real. That's them letting you know that there's people watching them. And so I don't think it's a coincidence, or this just some quote unquote nigga shit that's going on in the hood when you're talking about a lot of these rappers dying. I'm not saying every last one of them are that, but I am saying that some of this stuff is just, it don't always pan out. You know, Nipsey Hussle, when he died, you come to find out that the guy that killed him is a police informant. You know, those types of things. And then, you know, you got all this different stuff going on with Takeoff dying, and even with PNB Rock, there were some things going on with his death that was kind of weird, where, you know, it was said his girlfriend was posting where they were at, and letting people know where they were at and stuff like that, and people was looking for them and stuff like that. So when you start hearing this type of stuff, you know that it's possible that there's other things going on that we not privy to as society. But what happens is we as Black people, because we don't look no deeper into it, because we like, oh, that's just some ignorant quote unquote nigga shit going on in the hood. And we don't really think about that it could be a deeper thing to it. And even if it ain't a deeper thing to it, there still is a deeper thing to it. We still are dealing with the fact that as a community, we have not been able to get over, still get over slavery, then add Jim Crow, then add lynching, then add KKK, then add civil rights era, then add after that every systematic way that they have figured out to keep us from getting to where even when we're striving for excellence, even when we're Black Wall Street, building our own businesses, building our own communities, they'll come in and not just random white people. We're talking about the government. They have proof that the government bombed Black Wall Street. So that when you start talking about those types of things, then we're dealing with what Dr. Joy DeGruy always talks about, which is PTSS, post-traumatic slave syndrome, which is still going on to this day. Because I mean, I just was watching TV the other day where a lady was talking about how she had to it was two different ladies. One was a Black lady where she was talking about she had to move everything at her house that looked Black, move all her pictures out the house and everything, and have a white person let the appraisal person in so that she can get the proper appraisal for her property. So within a week, her property went up almost $50,000 because she moved all the Black stuff out of the house. And then the same news story, there was a white lady who got her house appraised, but she's married to a Black man, and their pictures was all around, in the house appraised for, I think it was over $100,000 less than the house down the street. So she moved all of his stuff out, all his pictures and stuff out, asked him to stay away, and she had the house appraised again, and it appraised that value that the other houses in the neighborhood was appraising that. So that lets you know that we're still dealing with systematic issues that's trauma. That's when you have to go and try to get a loan from somewhere, and you know that you might not be able to get the loan, not because you don't have the credit, not because you don't have the money to pay for it or the job to pay for that, but because you're Black, you might not get the loan that you're looking for. That's it. You're still dealing with those issues. So that then goes into where now you lose hope. And for us who necessarily, we have pretty good jobs, we making it, we doing things that's getting us over the top. There's probably about 5 to 6 of us that's in the hood that's trying to make it. And every time they trying to make it, they getting knocked back. And then that causes anger. It causes a lack of hope. And now all of a sudden you got people running around mad at each other, hating on each other, and next thing you know, pulling guns. You don't kill, you kill the people that you're around. Don't get me wrong. There ain't no Black on Black crime. When they talking about Black on Black, there's white on white crime. The majority of white people kill white people. They don't just go out and kill. Majority of white people don't go out and kill Black people. Majority of Black people don't go out and kill white people. You kill what you're around. But the fact of the matter that as Black people, you're killing people that really at the end of the day are not systematically keeping you down. Then what are you doing? That means that there's somewhere in you where you've lost something. And that is going back to what we're talking about, the importance of representation. That is why it is good that we do have some representation out there that is positive and showing us there can be another way. But we need that more, like what Jevona was saying. We need that more from not just TV. We need it more from the regular me, you, and Jevona. Me, you, and Tracy. Me, Jevona, and Tracy.
Yeah.
Us, regular people doing the work, doing good things, and helping people in the community.
Yeah.
It's
And
just-
promoting that and sharing that out and encouraging others, that lifting them up, So, I just want to say, Jevona, keep doing what you're doing. It's awesome. I will definitely come by to support you. I've been wanting coffee all week. What are your hours, Jevona?
So Thursdays and Fridays from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Saturdays 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. and Sundays 10 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Okay. Well, I definitely, because on my way to work, I'm going to swing down that way.
I might be there. I'm there for like 30 minutes and
Yeah.
open up and I got to go to work.
Even if you're not, just to know that I can stop by and get some coffee and a bagel, that makes my whole day.
So now, Jevona, you can be somebody's Claire Huxtable.
I can be somebody's Claire Huxtable. Oh,
Yeah.
that would be quite an honor. That would be
you are somebody's Claire Huxtable. You are
Yeah.
obviously you're Carrie's Claire Huxtable as it is, first
Yep.
off. But then and Trayce, same thing with her kids. She's somebody's Claire Huxtable. Because of the things that you guys are doing and putting into your kids, but also there's other people watching, and that representation is what's most important. Mm-hmm. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to downplay Black Adam. I'm not trying to downplay Wakanda forever.
No.
But what's most important, I tell people all the time, my hero
is who you see.
My hero is my grandfather.
Yeah.
That's my hero. He was my hero. A sharecropper. His mother and father were slaves who end up being sharecroppers. He was born into sharecropping. He did not finish he finished the third grade education. And he was able to go off to war, come back, move to Detroit, Michigan, bring his whole family from down there to Detroit, pay for the land down there, keep the land down there, so that other people in his family could take it later on and have it. And I just, and I remember, he taught himself how to read, and he lived a pretty good life. And so for me, he was my hero. I can say, yeah, you had, I don't remember like Heathcliff Huxtable. I didn't want to be Heathcliff Huxtable. I thought he was funny and I loved the show, but I didn't want to be Heathcliff. And I can't lie, I like James Amos. I liked the Evans family a lot more, but I didn't want to be the Evans family either because I didn't want to be that damn broke. So so neither one of them I can say was my hero, but my grandfather was definitely my hero. And so I remember growing up, my representation on TV wasn't, it was in the 90s, we had was hood movies. We had Menace to Society, we had those things, and that wasn't hero. I liked the movies, I watched them, but they were, for me, again, my hero is my grandfather. And then after he passed away, of course, my mother became my next hero because, the things that she did to make sure that I was taken care of and put me in the right place. So that's the representation that we need more than anything. And I think that is when you start talking about what you were talking about as far as that responsibility. That's what we need. We need more regular people to stand up and do regular things. Everybody looking for a calling, but your first calling is your family, and then after that, the neighborhood around you.
Absolutely. I think getting back to the basics, and it truly takes a village, and it's just really disheartening some of the things I see on a day-to-day basis. People that are mother and father, that is your first sense of normal, whatever that is. Your parents or whomever you live with, that's where you get that from. And I just think that we have strayed away, really far away from the blueprint. And I think getting back to the basics, because no matter what our race is, we all want the same things. We want to be happy. We want to be healthy. We want to have money to pay our bills. We want to meet every single one of our needs and be able to, dabble around in our wants. We want our children to be happy and safe. So that's just human decency. And like my son is 21 now. He told me a few years ago, Mom, I've been to more funerals than weddings. And it was so eye-opening to me. Like he had never been to a wedding. We just like the concept of love, and seeing a mother and a father together, even if they're not physically together, working together to raise happy, healthy children. Just, you talk about a hero or a shero in my house. That's who they were, my mother and my father, who neither one of them are here, but they still have influence on my decisions that I make right now, even at 45 years old. I still strive to make them proud, even though they're not physically here. But we have created a culture where people don't mind disappointing people. It's no big deal. There are no consequences. There's no healthy fear of consequences. It just feels like the wild, wild west out here. You're not safe in church. You're not safe in school. Carrington School had a gun threat the other day, and they called and they said, moms and dads, we have increased the police presence. She wanted to go to basketball tryouts. I'm like, am I a bad mom if I keep her home? But the same exact day, Ferndale High School had a gun threat, and they closed the schools. So Carrington said, well, why is our school open? Are their lives more important than our lives? And this was a conversation that the kids were having in school because they were uneasy about it. But that's what I mean about technology, because what lesson did they learn from that?
Well, tell Carrington this. I'll tell him that I would go this route with it. Cass and Ferndale are totally opposite of schools. And Ferndale is known to get rowdy. And so Cass is pretty much known a lot of times to kind of, it's supposed to be good kids for the most part. Those are kids that tested to get in there. And so their thinking is, it might be wrong thinking, I'm not saying it's right, but I think their thinking was more on the thought process that we know our kids, and most likely this is just a threat, and we gonna be able to handle it. Whereas Ferndale, they most likely know they can't handle it. They got to get it under control first. And the best way that they can get it under control is to close it.
I will definitely share that perspective with her. But the things that they have to, we never worried about that as a child. We just didn't think about that. We walked to school. Kids don't even, and I'm guilty of it too. I cherry picked my children's school. That didn't happen when we were kids. We went to the school that in our neighborhood. So we knew the students, our parent, besides high school. But
well, no, I didn't at all. Cause when Cook was in my neighborhood at first, but when we moved, my mom was able to keep me at Cook. It was an open school for a little while. And then when it wasn't an open school, we were still able to stay there because we had the address that I lived in. She sold that house to a friend. So we were able to use that address until I couldn't, until I got out of there. Then I went to a private school, and then I went to Renaissance, which is a school you test to get in. So,
and that's a whole separate conversation.
Yeah, I never had that situation.
Walk to school in groups like we used to. It was because everybody was out. The parents knew the route, they knew the time. We are so individualistic, and again, I'm guilty of it too. I pull in my driveway, go in my garage, come in my house. So we've lost that sense of community and child rearing and all of that. Like I call it the sounds of summer. You don't hear kids outside playing. The ice cream truck doesn't come down the street because it's not profitable. We take our kids to Cold Stone or Dairy Queen. They're not outside playing.
Well,
and they do.
In our neighborhood.
gun violence, like things that we did not have to worry about.
Now that depends on the neighborhood too, though, because like I said, because I mean,
Yeah, because the ice cream truck still comes down the street.
and so that it depends on the neighborhood, because if you are in a hood, a lot of times where there is a lot of kids, that ice cream truck coming
in neighborhood, it does,
because they outside playing. Like when I was growing up, I didn't, I know a lot of people but the ice cream truck didn't really come down my street too much because I was truly the only kid on my street. It was like everybody else, I was the only kid on my street. I had to walk down the street to the next block over to find kids to play with. And besides me and my cousins, when my cousins would come over for the summertime, I was the only kid on my street.
And food trucks are more popular now. So one of the things that I've seen in a lot of the suburban neighborhoods is they will have food trucks come into the subdivision a couple times a week, during the summer months for parents and kids to come out and, kind of partake and hang out. So, but life has changed. I mean, life has changed a lot. Things have evolved. A lot of it has to do, again, with the choices that we make, and the things, honestly, that we pursue. There's certain pursuits, and just the truth of the matter is, they are going to require time away, from your children. When you talk about becoming an attorney or becoming a doctor or, any type of education or study, that's going to take additional time. Most people aren't able to pursue those things without also working. And so those types of commitments do take you, out of the home. You're trying to build a better life for your children, and give them more opportunity. And then sometimes you kind of have to question, okay, well, is it worth that? Or do you want to be home, with your kids? I was a stay-at-home mom for 12 and a half years. That was a very, I felt like it was an important decision for me. And I felt like it was a non-negotiable, when I put that on the table. But I was a stay-at-home mom. I stayed home with my children because I felt like that was important. I felt like that was something that I needed to do because I wanted to build that bond with my children. And so everything that I've built really career-wise was after my youngest had started, kindergarten. But everybody does not have, they aren't able to make those same types of decisions. It's different for everybody. And especially in the Black community, more often than not, no, you got to work. So many kids are latchkey kids. And so a lot of the things that we're seeing today, are fallout from that. And then just society, society is not the same. So, it's tough, but, I think that we do the best that we can with what we have. We make the best choices. We love our children. Our children know that we love them. We're present for them. We support them. We support their endeavors. And to both your points, we try and make, as we make those efforts and do that work, to be the best representation of ourselves and of our communities and our ancestors that we can be, to encourage them and inspire them to do the same.
It's a guy named Myron Golden. I don't know if you guys, I think that's his name, Myron Golden. He's all over YouTube right now. Black guy. He teaches on finance and he brings it from a biblical perspective. He's a business owner. But he said something recently about, he said, America has it backwards. And he said, they tell you that you are a good parent when you have your kids and you can play with them all day long. And you take time to play with them. That makes you a good parent, and you're a bad parent when you're working and they can't and you don't play and you don't have time for them because you're working. He said that's all wrong. He said the problem is, he said when you're with your kids, you need to have your kids with you while you're working. He said when you're sitting at that table studying and trying to build your business or trying to study for school, have them sit there with you. And that goes back to what we were talking about originally, representation and responsibility. Had them at the table with you so they can see your work ethic and see what you're doing. And when they see that, then they know, okay, I can do it too. And if my dad or my mother did it, I can do it too. And so that I thought that was real important for him to say that, because we do have this thought process. Oh, I'm with the kids, I need to be playing. But my kids sometimes will say, "You got to work, Dad," and I'll be like, "Yeah, I'm working. You can come in here with me, but I'm working. I got some stuff I got to do. You can come and sit next to me or whatever." Because I want them to know that I'm working for you guys. I'm working for myself, but at the same time, one day this is gonna be you. One day you're gonna be working the same way, and hopefully not the same way. Hopefully a more efficient way,
Right.
but that's gonna still be you working. And so when we talk about representation, that's what it is. Like you said, we have to when we're doing those things, we have to make sure that we are there for the kids to show them that part of it too. It's we got to do the other stuff too. Don't get me wrong. We got to have fun with them and play with them and do those things. But it's a lot of times a lot more important to show them this is the business side of things so that we can play. So I want to say thank you, Jevona. Again, Jevona, tell us your address of Detroit SIP and how to and again give us those hours again.
So Detroit SIP is located at 7420 West McNichols between Livernois and Wyoming. We're open every Thursday and Friday, 7 a.m. to 5, Saturdays 8 to 4, and Sundays 10 to 4.
All right. You got anything special coming up that you want to talk about? Or I know you said something about on Saturday. What you got?
Yes, Shop Small Saturday inside the coffee shop, which is November 26th from 10 to 5. It will be vendors selling their products, showcasing what they do, and hopefully people will come out and support. It's not about the coffee shop that day. It's literally about supporting people that are pursuing their dreams.
All right. Any other way, anybody, if they need to contact you, other way to contact you?
Detroit SIP is the handle on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok.
All right. Trayce, you got anything coming up? You say that one more time?
I said thank you guys for having me.
No problem. Trayce, you got anything coming up?
Nothing coming up. Always got my ear to the ground to find out what people are talking and thinking. So hopefully we'll have some more interesting topics in the future. All
right. And again, Randy Graham, you can contact me at Randy R. Graham on Instagram. On Twitter, it's the Randy R. Graham. Facebook is going to be Randy R. Graham. If you're looking for real estate in the metro Atlanta area, you can give me a call 404-438-7113. Also, I have a book on Amazon called Gratitudes and Affirmations that you can pick up to write out your gratitudes and affirmations and journal your day. And I also have a book that should be out here in the next 2 or 3 weeks, maybe before, called Think Success. I may have a cover for it next week to show. So need to get in contact with me. Those are the ways to get in contact with me. Thank you again for listening. Wealthy Thoughts Show. We out.
In the back of a 77 lacked a deal. I was conceived on leather seats with smooth beats that still resonate through my soul. I never hesitate to flow cold, illuminate through your peepholes and detonate on black foes. These neonates been born, but still sworn to their childish ways. Slaves without chains cause they minds is haze. Spirits ablaze, soldiers who don't know who to fight. So-called leaders with cliches told you to love everything that's white. So when you get on, you leave goddesses for white girls. God, this is not the right world. God, this is some shit We need to stop pretending this, cause ain't shit about them motherfuckers that's supremacists. Behind closed doors, fear agendas I suppose. Bio warfare composed, and we rather believe conspiracy when it's exposed. We'd rather complain that we not treated the same. But to wanna be like rapists, murderers, and thieves, that's just insane. You gon' learn today. Every time I step to the mic and push play, I make your mind go crazy. Give you some shit that's real. My legendary status been sealed. E on me music, giving you some shit you can feel.